Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the council meeting for Monday, August 24th, 2026. Individuals interested in participating in today's meeting were eligible to register online using the delegation registration form at www.kitchener.ca/delegation or via email at delegation@kitchener.ca. Any written comments received prior to the commencement of today's meeting have been circulated to members of council and will form part of the public record. The meeting live stream and archive videos are available at www.kitchener.ca/watchnow. Before we begin this evening's meeting, I'd like to acknowledge that we're gathering on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize our responsibility to serve as stewards for the land and honor the original caretakers who came before us. Our community is enriched by the enduring knowledge and deep-rooted traditions of the diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit in Kitchener today. I'd now like to invite everyone to stand as they're able for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see roots, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you. Normally, we don't allow clapping in the council chamber, but I'll make an exception for the national anthem. Before we begin this evening's council meeting, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge several important observances taking place this coming month. First, I want to recognize Labor Day, which we will mark on September 7th. Labor Day is an opportunity to honor the workers and the labor movement whose efforts have shaped the rights, protections, and quality of life that so many of us benefit from today. Here in Kitchener, we're grateful to the countless people who work hard, keeping our community strong, safe, and thriving in every sector and every neighborhood. I'd also like to acknowledge Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, which begins at sundown on Friday, September 11th, and continues through nightfall on Sunday, September 13th. Rosh Hashanah is a sacred time of reflection, renewal, and hope for the year ahead. To all those in our community who are observing, we extend our warmest wishes for a happy, healthy, and sweet New Year. Shana Tova, Kitchener. We will also pause to remember the tragic events of September 11th, 2001. In fact, this year will mark the 25th anniversary. On that day, nearly 3,000 lives were lost. We remember all those who were killed, we hold their families and loved ones in our thoughts, and we honor the first responders who ran toward danger to help others. 25 years later, this day remains a powerful reminder of the importance of compassion, resilience, and standing together in the face of hate and tragedy. It was also a moment when Canada shined in terms of the support that we were able to play for airlines from around the world in Gander, Newfoundland. There will be a memorial at 8:30 a.m. at the Kitchener Firefighter Memorial on September 11th, and residents from Kitchener are invited to join us that day. Finally, I want to recognize the Firefighters National Memorial Day, which will be observed on September 13th in Ottawa. This day pays tribute to the firefighters across Canada who have given their lives in the line of duty while protecting their communities. We honor their courage, their selflessness, and their sacrifice, and we express our deep gratitude to the firefighters who continue to serve and protect us here in Kitchener each and every day. On behalf of Council and the City of Kitchener, I acknowledge each of these important observances, and I thank members of our community who reflect, remember, and come together during these meaningful times. We'll now deal with item number 2, minutes for approval, and so on motion by Councillor Bill Ioannidis, the minutes of the regular meeting held June 29th and special meetings held June 29th, July 28th, and August 10th, as mailed to the Mayor and Councillor, be accepted. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? There being none, I will note the communications being referred to file for a number of flag and illumination requests. And I will just note that one of those is for Ukrainian Independence Day, which is marked today for their 35th anniversary. We'll now move into presentations, and our first presentation will be the Be Spatial Ontario Award presentation. And I call on Melanie Warwick, who will present the awards and the 2025 Miss Ontario Excellence in Municipal Systems Award. Welcome, Melanie.
Hello. So today's presentation highlights several award-winning initiatives that reflect the city and geospatial data and analytics commitment to innovation, collaboration, and excellent service delivery. Together, these projects demonstrate how technology and data are...
Sorry, can I just ask you to speak a little louder and maybe even ask the clerk if they can
Okay.
crank it up a little bit?
Yep.
Thank you.
Together, these projects demonstrate how technology and data are helping us better serve our community. This one has the MISA one in here, so I'll do it. In 2025, we won the MISA Ontario Excellence in Municipal Systems Award for our tree equity work with forestry. This recognition reflects the city's commitment to using data to support council priorities. By identifying where tree canopy is needed most, we can invest in areas where residents and communities benefit the most. Jeff Norris won the 2026 Best Public Sector Award for his innovative municipal consent application program, which combines open source software with our enterprise GIS. The permit portal replaced an aging paper process with a simple digital service that makes it easier to submit and track permit applications. Automation has reduced administrative work and giving staff more time to review applications and support customers. Congratulations, Jeff. Naseem Shavari won the 2026 Data Architecture and Coding Competition for developing a Python-based ArcPro workflow that automates equity analysis and creates a consistent framework for planning investments and investment decisions. This work helps the city identify and prioritize areas with the greatest community need. Since receiving the award, Naseem has expanded on the solution into a web application that allows staff and potentially the public to explore equity data for themselves. The app launches in a few days and will no doubt be a strong candidate for an award next year. Congratulations, Naseem. And lastly, I was truly honored to receive this leadership award from Be Spatial and grateful for the opportunity to represent both Be Spatial and the City of Kitchener. This recognition is not just about me, it reflects the dedication, support, and collaboration of the many colleagues, volunteers, and mentors who have helped shape my career. I'm proud of the work we have done together to advance geospatial data and support better decision-making for our community. I'm also grateful for the city's strong commitment to innovation and the use of geospatial data and analytics. Thank you.
Is there another part to this, or?
What's that?
Okay. Sorry, Dan's coming down now? Okay.
Present the award.
Oh, okay. I'll come up.
It's a lot of glass.
Okay, so who gets which?
You want to do?
Want to do them one by one, or?
Sure. So this is the best public sector for Jeff Norris.
Okay. you want to do them together, individually, or? This is that one.
That's a big group, that's for Nassim.
Okay, so you can hold this then. Thank you. Please. Melanie, congratulations. Wonderful. And this one goes to the city, so Dan can have this one. There you go. Congrats. Wonderful, thank you. Want me to pass this one around? Yep. You guys can keep the rest of the heart, we'll pass this one around.
Okay, perfect.
Well, on behalf of council, just want to extend our congratulations to all of you and other team members who no doubt were part of some of this work. I think, I mean, I'm probably a little bit biased since many moons ago, before any of this work was started, had the privilege of working in the IT area and have always been impressed with the team that we have up there. So please extend our congratulations to everyone on all these recognitions. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item number 5.3, the Center for Mutual Wellbeing presentation. Fazia Mazar, the chair for the Center for Mutual Wellbeing, wasn't able to be in attendance this date, and so the presentation will be scheduled at a later date. We'll now move on to an exciting new announcement from David Marskell, the CEO, on behalf of the museum, and he can tell us all about the really cool new banner that's attached to the museum building. David, welcome.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you very, very much. You all have the slide deck, and it's on public record, so I'll go through it very quickly to get to the actual exhibition. And I'm doing this, am I? And we have a wonderful board of directors. We have Stephanie Stretch, Board 10 counselor on our board. Thank you so much for your guidance, patience, and all the things that you do to support me. And we have an observer from the city, Andrea Holland as well. So a great stellar board of directors that has been going through a change. We will have in September a 60% change in our board in the last 2 years. We have a number of guiding points that take the staff to the next level in terms of our exhibitions and so on. And when we began as a children's museum, Art and Technology at Play was created. I wish I could take credit for that, but it's just such a perfect line for this community and certainly for all stages of life. And in the center at the bottom, you'll see the giraffe exhibit that we created here. It's now in Sherbrooke, Quebec at the Museum of Nature, and we'll now tour Canada in partnership with them. We're working with the city, and I thank everybody that we've spent a lot of time over the last couple of years, and I thank everybody involved to find that sustainable model for the museum. We continue to attract world-class exhibitions, and I'm pleased that we're returning to our pre-COVID number of attendance. We're very, very close to that. In fact, our fiscal that ended June 30th, we had 80,000 people, and our survey done during the March break, a very busy March break, 65% paid for parking and 30% had a meal downtown, so that helps with economic development. We had a huge increase at the gate year over year, and we achieved a surplus. It's under, BDO is doing the audit right now, but there's very few changes to that, so I'm very, very pleased with that. And in March break, we had our highest day ever, and for those of you who've been to our museum, if you can imagine 1,700 people in one day at the museum, it was pretty significant. We had our highest revenue ever in a number of categories, and our new fiscal that has begun, we saw the highest attendance since 2012 this July. August is tracking to budget. If I got a camera, oh, I've got 7 minutes. I thought I had 5. I could take time. Okay. I'm sorry I had to wear a sweater today, by the way. Like, what are we doing in the middle of August with sweaters and jackets? Okay. I'm really pleased with the level of talent, caliber, Canadian caliber that we bring to the community. The Chris Hadfield talk that we had in May was truly magical, incredible. 1,000 people came out, sell out to see that. And we have 3 wonderful people to help launch the Da Vinci Dialogues. And that will begin with CBC's Bob McDonald. We have Jeremy Hansen, and we're bringing Margaret Atwood back to the community, which is always wonderful. And she calls me Buster. Watch it, Buster, I believe is what she says. So really what I wanted to talk about tonight is just to share something I'm really pleased with. And when we had Warhol and we had the Titanic, and people would say, what would you do next? I never had an answer for that. And we just always found something bigger and better. And I don't know if we can top this brand. Leonardo da Vinci, 500 Years of Genius, partnering with the Da Vinci Museum in Rome. It's the only stop in Canada. And what we do best is the festival strategy. We're working with the embassy in Ottawa, the Consul General, on and on and on. And we will open the exhibition on September 30th with the ambassador from the Italian ambassador to Canada opening the evening and the exhibition. The actual festival on the right-hand side is some of the rooms and types of galleries that will be explored during the exhibition. And on the left is what we normally do that we are Leonardi-izing and making that theme into some of our events and so on. Aperitivo Wednesdays we will introduce in the lounge, which the ambassador said, you're opening at 6 and I speak at 6:45. That's called a late breakfast in Italy. And so he introduces the Aperitivo Wednesdays, and we will have some fun conversations then. The exhibit is truly world-class, and this is just some of the images of top right is the anatomy drawings, bottom right. He didn't necessarily build what he created, he got bored. He would create things and take it to a certain point on paper and leave it there. And on the top left, I'm not sure how easily you can see it, but in the very top of it, that he created flying machines, he created a tank, he created a helicopter. I'm talking 500 years ago. Our iPool, the only immersive digital experience west of Toronto on the bottom left, will have a connection to Leonardo as well. And probably what I'm most proud of is what our team has put together with a series of the Da Vinci Dialogues. For the most part, 1:30 on Sunday afternoons. Membership is your best value to get in to see them. Some of them have separate ticket prices, like the top 3. We have 7 post-secondary institutions from Villanova in Pennsylvania all the way to Georgian College, certainly the universities here in Guelph and so on, all talking about different topics and so on. I don't know if anybody here was aware, I certainly wasn't. The Hydro Cut in Waterloo, they built a Da Vinci bridge. It was created a number of years ago. Who knew? And so the Waterloo Cycling Club will be doing a presentation on that. It's pretty impressive, actually. And then we talk about tourism and all sorts of other wonderful things. And last week, as His Worship, he hates when I say that, the Mayor of Kitchener said the huge banner, we unfurled it last week, and that now is a beacon in downtown Kitchener to bring people downtown and to enjoy the museum. And I think that's pretty much it. We thank you very much for your ongoing commitment to helping us get to that sustainable model, and grazie, or however you say that. Is anybody Italian? So we're going to be able to learn to count to 1 to 15, or however long it takes you, in our washrooms. We're going to have lessons in Italian in our washrooms. So it's going to be a fun, wonderful exhibition. Thank you very, very much.
Well, all I can say, David, is mille grazie per la presentazione e per aver portato l'emozione di Leonardo da Vinci a Kitchener, which translates to thank you for your presentation and for bringing the excitement of Da Vinci to Kitchener. Great presentation. Love all the partnerships. I will suggest one group you may want to reach out to. They don't have a building anymore, but I think they still exist as a club, and it's the Cortina Club, which was our local Italian club, but they still get together periodically, from what I understand. So you might want to connect with them.
Will do.
Questions? Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, David. These are some really incredible numbers compared to where the situation was last year. And so I will give your board, yourself, and Councillor Stretch, and Andrea, wherever you are, admiration for being where you are now. And this is super cool. I want to say forget about it, but I can't because I'm not truly Italian. But the only question I have is I noticed the evening with Jeremy Hansen and conversation with Margaret Atwood are up at Lazaridis Hall in Waterloo, and I'm just curious why we weren't able to have that downtown at the museum.
Simply the capacity. We could maybe have 300 in a theater style, and Lazaridis Hall, University of Wilfrid Laurier University is donating the space, and the capacity is 1,000. And to be able to pay the fee and take care of all the costs involved with marketing and so on, we needed to get to those numbers.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I knew that answer, but I just wanted to clarify it. But yeah, great work, and I hope this is a huge success for the next 4 months, I guess, while it's downtown. And I will definitely make sure my family and I get down to visit. So yeah, great work.
Thank you very much.
Councillor O'Dooney.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, David. Just hearing this, the first thing that came to my mind was, yes, this is great to see, getting back to pre-pandemic numbers. I'm just curious, just out of interest, have you done any data analysis to get an understanding? Is it the same set of people that were coming before are returning, or did you expand beyond who you were marketing to? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, no, it's a really great question. I think there's a couple of answers to it. I think that there's a new group of 8-year-olds and 12-year-olds that are coming up, new cohort, if you will. Our out-of-town visitors, our tourism percentage-wise has gone down from about 40% to high 20s, 30%, meaning more people from here are coming to the museum.
Okay.
I mean, that's two answers. We've deployed some new strategies around passes for students and children, which we're seeing our attendance go up significantly, up last year 20% over, and this year even higher. But it's kind of a 2-for-1 because the parents come and pay and so on. But they're coming back and they're enjoying it. So what the strategy is new to us is that we have 2 floors, main floors for exhibits, and one will be focused at the family and continuing to do the big numbers we've just done. But now we're introducing a whole nother market, and the families may want to see Leonardo, but now we can market to Toronto, work with the Italian media there, to the universities, to a whole different demographic. So we'll have 2 groups, and when that all works, we're going to have to really manage our traffic flow to make sure that the building we don't run out of toilet paper, and the building is clean, and that we can take care of everybody in a safe way.
Awesome. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor O'Dooney. And now il nostro consigliere Italo-Canadese or Italian-Canadian Councillor Scott Davey.
No, I still struggle with English, so I'm not going to try with my Italian. No, thank you, David, for the presentation. Yeah, I was really excited. I was actually sharing with my daughter, especially the Jeremy Hansen, that he's going to be there. It's going to be great. Speaking yet for Wilfrid Laurier. My only question was if you could just help me understand in your presentation, you mentioned that there was some unused funds, or I'm not sure it was in kind or what. Could you clarify what that what that was, and if you know the amounts, that would be great.
Yeah, that was probably a mistake on my part in terms of how I worded that. It was unused is what I was meaning to say. If we received X number of dollars, in-kind dollars for parking, for example, for our volunteers and our board and so on, we didn't use it all. So it was unused. It wasn't dollars returned.
Okay, so there was some earmarked in-kind funding that wasn't taken advantage of. Gotcha. Okay.
That was my mistake.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Councillor David. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, David, for coming in. It is really exciting to see this report from you and to see all the diverse people that you're bringing in for conversations. I think I first fell in love with Margaret Atwood in grade 13, and it was my interest in her writing that helped me win the Canadian Lit Award at my high school. So that's pretty much my only award at this point. It was really great. So thank you for all of this that you're doing. I was wondering though, you put a couple of numbers in there in terms of how much paid parking that you had at events, how many meals people were eating downtown. How did you get those numbers?
So that was a snapshot of a very busy March break, and we were vigilant on getting the data from our visitors then. So it was surveys at that point in time. So it's a snapshot of the largest March break we've ever had, and at that time, 65% paid for parking downtown, and 30% I think was suggested they had a meal downtown.
So were you just asking that at the door, or how did you get those stats?
No, it's a follow-up survey, an email survey that goes out. How did you enjoy today? How did you find out about it? What did you like best? And then some of these other questions.
Is this something that you'll continue?
Yes, we do. I mean, sometimes it's a challenge to get people to fill it out, and you need to have a contest or something as an incentive. But yes, we do. I mean, the research is that data is so important to me to understand why people are coming and what they liked, and that helps with our marketing communications and so on.
Yeah, it is really important. I'm hoping that that's something that you'll share with the Downtown BIA as well. I think that's really important for them to see, and thank you for doing that.
Thank you. And if I may just very quickly, Margaret Atwood is going to be interviewed by Dr. Ghosh, and Dr. Ghosh is a quantum physicist at Laurier, and who, like you, fell in love with Margaret Atwood a long time ago. And it's all about art and science intersecting, the museum, art and technology at play, and Leonardo da Vinci. Like, it's just coming together so well. That's going to be a wonderful evening.
You know what? It's really exciting to see this, David. Listen, much better conversations than we've had in the past. This is really wonderful. You've really gone a long way. So good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And not just good for me, good for our team, our board, our volunteers, Stephanie, and
Yes.
staff here that have been patient and helped guide us. Thank you.
That was the grand you.
Thank you, the grand.
Thank you.
I don't know how you say that in Italian, but
Wonderful. Thank you. Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for coming in. Yeah, I agree, this is very exciting. And I don't mean my question is not to undermine any of this, but I'm just wondering if you have any idea of what's to come in 2027.
after following this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the strategy would be to go back full on family. Like this takes us to a different level of audience and so on. We do not want to disrupt that core audience, that family audience that has carried us through the last 18 months extremely well and built all those big numbers I was describing. So we'll go back to family. We're looking at a number of things. Dinosaurs always work. And because at this point, I'm the oldest thing in the museum, but anyway, and also we're looking at a Lego display, which if we get, we need to make it interactive. That's so important to children and everybody today.
Great, thank you.
Children, I mean, I still like Lego when I'm playing with kids, so it could be a lot of fun. Councillor Deneau.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. And I just want to make a comment, and I need to give credit where credit's due. I know an individual who runs the Ragnarok festival that took place back in July. And for those who don't know, it's like a D&D kind of immersive game playing. People come from out of town. And I had an opportunity to speak to the event hosts, and they couldn't praise the museum and its staff enough on how accommodating they all were in working with their needs. And obviously it's a little different than putting on a Da Vinci exhibit. But I wanted to give credit where credit's due. That I think this is the third or fourth year they've had it at the museum, and it was great to see 3 floors of people playing games and selling merchandise. But yeah, again, give your credit, all credit in the world, your staff, all credit in the world that nothing but compliments from this group. So
Yeah, no, and they're wonderful to work with. And the diversity of what we bring and offer in such a wonderful building, the city's building that we take care of, it's great that, and we have worked with them for several years now. And yeah, it's
Wonderful. Those are all the questions we have. David, again, thank you for coming in. Thanks for all the exciting updates, and look forward to welcoming the Leonardo da Vinci exhibit to downtown. Thank you so much. Cheers. Okay, we'll now move on to the balance of the agenda, including delegations. Before we begin delegations, I'd like to just remind everyone that the city values and encourages participation and dialogue in a democratic process that occurs in council and committee meetings and through written submissions and correspondence. It's important that these interactions remain respectful towards other members of the public, staff, and members of council. In cases where dialogue is not respectful or a delegate interrupts the mayor, councillors, staff, or other delegations, makes derogatory statements about the mayor, councillors, staff, or others that are disrespectful, or uses language that is considered harmful or defamatory, the chair may interject and take necessary actions to maintain a respectful and inclusive environment for everyone, which could involve removal from the meeting. One last reminder, delegations are permitted to address the council for a maximum of 5 minutes, which will be displayed on the screens in front of you. When there's 30 seconds remaining in your time, you'll hear a small audio tone that will signal 30 seconds remaining. Please take that time to conclude your presentation, as there will be a second tone at the completion of your time, and microphones will turn off automatically shortly after the exceeded 5-minute mark. Lastly, please do not take offense if following the presentation there are no questions from council. This is council's time to really listen and reflect upon the opinions and ideas shared with us from our community members. We'll now move to item 6.1, the zoning bylaw amendment for 26 Stanley Ave and 31 Schweitzer Street. I will note that there's an addendum report, report DSD 2026-332, and it includes a revised recommendation. I do also want to note there's one written submission that has been received from Stuart McKee. There are 3 delegations present, and our first delegation is Kristen Barrisdale, representing the GSP Group. Welcome, Kristen.
Good evening. Just here to speak briefly to the staff report and recommendation that's in front of you this evening. I'm following the Planning and Strategic Initiatives Committee meeting on August 10th. There were a few technical requests and clarification points that were put to staff. We've had a chance to review the staff report, and we agree with the recommendations and the commentary that's noted in the staff report. Just wanted to take a moment to extend a thank you and appreciation to staff for all the additional work that they've done since the August 10th meeting. Mr. Whitman had to do a lot of corresponding and liaising with a number of different agencies and departments. The report touched on some responses to tree preservation, tree canopy, and park space. As noted in Mr. Whitman's report, there are conditions that speak to conditions of condo approval that speak to tree replacement and compensation. I believe that we touched on this as part of our presentation August 10th, but by all means, we will ensure that we are following the city's protocols with regards to compensation and tree planting. In addition, further to the meeting on August 10th, we've modified the draft plan of condo ever so slightly to enlarge an area that we had previously identified for snow storage so that we can accommodate a small play structure on the site. That would be only for residents of the community. It would be a private play structure, but again, providing recreational and play opportunities for those who will be living on the site. Finally, Mr. Whitman's report spoke to at length some of the traffic and emergency response considerations that were discussed and noted as part of the meeting. It's our understanding, or according to the report, that the region has confirmed that the TIS that was submitted was deemed acceptable, that there is sufficient, or that there are broad-based traffic and transportation concerns that will continue to be addressed and assessed through the mobility plan that's being completed by the region. As of note, there was some helpful information in Mr. Whitman's report with regards to emergency response, again, which I believe address, or hopefully address, some of the concerns of members of council with regards to getting to the site. So that will conclude my presentation. I do understand that there may be potential questions or comments tonight with regards to asking for additional changes with regards to building height. I do note that there is no zoning bylaw amendment associated with this application. We're not asking for any changes to the existing zone. We are not asking for any changes in height. We're not asking for any changes in side yard setbacks. And we would have some concerns if there was additional prohibitions or restrictions put on place in terms of building height or second-story balconies. And that concludes my commentary. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Ms. Bairstow. Yeah, so you touched upon a couple of the questions that I was going to raise. The first of which is, you might remember from your the previous line of questioning, for the homes that back onto Schweitzer, which are the only real overlook concern homes. You had indicated that those homes were intended to be 2 stories maximum, like plus a basement as well. So if that's the case, I'm wondering why you would be concerned about, if the height restriction was limited to those homes that back onto Schweitzer, I'm wondering why you would be concerned about that.
Because, excuse me, through you, Mayor, again, we weren't asking for any changes to any variations to the height. We understand the notion in terms of the 2-story building. I believe I touched on at the report that there are some grading changes and small variances occur along that backyard. So while the buildings themselves would read as 2 stories from the internal road, they could read as 2.5 or walkouts, but they call them sunshine lots, where the foundation is elevated, to ensure that we're providing for the biggest flexibility, or the most flexibility, to accommodate the city's height definition of height in the bylaw. We would like to maintain the maximum building height of 11 meters that's stipulated in the existing bylaw.
Okay, by way of compromise then, to ensure that that doesn't impact, and I have to confirm with staff if this is something we can do, but if we were to build into the agreement that the height itself didn't change, stated that what was previously agreed upon, but it was still limited to 2 stories plus a basement, does that address that concern?
If we're afforded, excuse me, through you, Mr. Mayor, if we're afforded the ability to meet the 11-meter definition in the bylaw, again, to account for that variation in the grading in the backyard, I don't think there's anything that would prevent restricting it to 2 stories, again, if we have that ability for the 11 meters. Unfortunately, 11 meters does convert to 3 stories. That is not the intent for this development. Again, it's to accommodate for those variations and variances in the grading.
Okay, so protect the residents, then that's one I'd like to ensure that it is not 3 stories, it is 2 stories, but the height stays the same, that's okay.
We have 3-story permissions right now. We'd like to maintain the 11-meter permission right now. We're not asking for any further changes. We don't have a building product. We're not looking for 3 stories. We're looking for traditional 2-story buildings. But again, without having building permit drawings in front of me right now, I can't confirm how that would be measured by the definition in the zoning bylaw.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure I'm understanding. So you're saying 2 stories plus a basement, and I'm agreeing 2 stories plus a basement. You're saying you still want to be able to go 11 meters, and I'm saying fine, still 11 meters. So what's the concern?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would have to defer to city staff on how they define a story in their zoning bylaw, because technically at the back, if we have a grading variance where we have 2.5 stories, we're exceeding a 2-story maximum.
Okay, I'll follow up with the staff with the question on that one. The second one is the concern, and I don't think I quite heard you, with upper story balconies, or someone could come out on the 2nd story and overlook potential neighbors in the existing street. Did you say that you would not be supportive of removing that freedom?
The restriction doesn't exist right now in the existing residential 5 zoning, nor is that similar restriction applicable to any of the residential units that were surround this. We do not support a restriction that would prohibit 2nd story balconies.
Okay, so you wouldn't support that, okay. And actually, those are all my questions for you, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. Councillor Singh.
Further clarification from Councillor Davey regarding the two-story. Of course, staff will have an opportunity to give a better explanation. But on the council, sorry, as the consultant for the applicant, stating it differently, just 2 stories above grade. I understand again, has been relayed, that your intent is to maintain the 11-meter allowance, but you're comfortable with 2 stories above grade, not going more than the 2 floors above grade. Is that comfortable language?
Yeah,
Is that-
through you, Mr. Mayor, the intent is to provide for traditional 2-story buildings here, again, recognizing the changes or the variances in that grading. I would defer to staff on how that's measured, but the bylaw itself right now, I believe, measures in meters and not necessarily stories, but I would defer to staff on that.
If there is allowance, you would have no issue. If there is a mechanism to stipulate that it's only 2 stories above grade, you would have no issue as long as 11-meter allowance is allowed.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would have to confirm with the applicant, but I don't believe that that would be an issue. The intent is not to provide for anything larger than a traditional 2-story dwelling here.
Just wanted to re-clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are all the questions we have, Ms. Barsdale.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Ms. Mary Lou Schaefer. Welcome, Ms. Schaefer.
Good evening. We remain opposed to the R5 zoning for the Stanley Ave and Schweitzer Street development. There are significant gaps in the amended report with regards to addressing the concerns we voiced at the August 10th planning meeting. Our legal counsel observed that the amended plan and supporting documents for this meeting continued to be revised even at 4 p.m. today, so it was a moving target for us to prepare for this evening. A few examples. The amended report does not include any details regarding the plan to mitigate the additional strain on the aging water main and sewer. The only water main servicing the area is now over 50 years old. Who will bear the cost for repairs and expansion? Traffic in the area remains a significant concern. A portion of Lancaster is currently closed. Just recently, signs were put up on Bloomingdale Road. It's now closed for 6 weeks. The proposed dwellings will all have garages, either 1 or 2 car. There's also a visitor parking area. Most companies have now mandated back to office protocol, which will drastically increase traffic in the area. The report mentions the new Highway 7, which although stated to provide another access route over the river, it will actually bring more traffic transiting to the north end of Waterloo because of the backed up traffic extending from Lancaster to Northfield on the expressway at peak morning. The report mentions that the region's integrity mobility plan is underway, which may identify new projects and priorities. If this development is approved, along with the others in the area, and the timing coincides with region projects, how will traffic flow efficiently in and out of the village? The report mentions that a TIS was nonetheless requested due to the sensitivity of traffic in the area, and many councillors acknowledged in the August 10th meeting that there was a significant traffic concern. We urge council to defer approval of R5 zoning until an accurate, realistic traffic study is completed at the proper time of year, not during summer vacation. And we want it to include all intersections and arteries in and out of the area, even though 2 of the roads are regional roads. Emergency services include ambulance and police. The report mentions that the fire department was consulted and that they do not have concerns with a residential development of this size proceeding in the area. Did they consider the other planned developments and the expanding industrial park? What are police and ambulance saying about their response times? And number 5, The amended B1 draft plan continues to include the pathway to the cemetery. At the August 10th meeting, it was confirmed at least 3 times that the pathway, trail, walkway is not needed. The revised plan mentions upgrades to Schaefer Park and that it is only a 5-minute walk. What is the path the planners and developers expect residents to take to Schaefer Park? Perhaps they could install a crosswalk at Stanley and Bloomingdale Road? The Bridgeport Memorial Cemetery is a small, quaint cemetery, less than 3 acres. Both the Free Church and cemetery are designated as heritage, which reflects their long-standing cultural and historical importance. Why are we still seeing the cemetery connection in the B1 draft plan when it was clearly said that it was not needed? Why is there no mention of the notwithstanding clause that we've requested? We ask again that council not approve the R5 zoning and take the time required to do proper and complete studies to proactively address these major concerns. Thank you once again for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much, Ms. Schaefer, for coming in. We do have some questions for you. Councillor Davey.
Yes, yeah, thank you for your presentation again, Ms. Schaefer. I just wanted to clarify, actually probably should have clarified this last week, but I'll confirm with staff. I don't think we actually have like a notwithstanding clause rule that we can even apply. So that isn't something, that isn't a tool that we have that we can use. Just wanted to clarify that. The other question, I just wanted to make sure you're like, get your understanding. Are you aware what the next steps would be if council were to either defer this for too long or to turn this application down? Do you know what the next steps are for the applicant potentially?
Unfortunately, I'm not.
Okay, I'll talk to staff after that too. I just wanted to point that out because I'll raise it with staff and have staff explain it because there are risks to that approach as well because I do share many of your concerns, but we'll get to that in a moment. Okay, thank you.
Those are all the questions that we have. Thanks, Ms. Schaefer. And our last registered delegation is James Orson. Welcome, Mr. Orson.
Thank you. Just want to say, I can't say anymore. Mary Lou said it all. I've been a resident for 69 years, and I just don't understand the speed. You guys rush everything through. You don't look at nothing. You don't even come down to Bridgeport at 5 o'clock to see how the traffic is. Says the fire truck says, oh, not a problem. We can go down there. Send them down at 5 o'clock. See how they make it to my house when I'm having a heart attack again. That's all I got to say. Like, just slow down, take it easy. I know he's going to build the houses irregardless, but let's do it right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. There don't appear to be any questions. Thank you for coming in again this evening. Okay, we'll now go to questions of staff. Councillor Davey.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to start with the obvious one. Can staff please reconfirm that the pathway through the cemetery is off the books and is not going to happen?
Mr. Whitman?
Yes, through you, the chair. To confirm, city staff will not be pursuing a connection through the cemetery. I do note that the condominium plan does have a note. We can be directed to have the applicant remove that just so it's not on the condominium plan as well.
Okay. Is there any further action that this council needs to take to ensure that the pathway is off the books, or is it here?
Go ahead.
No further action required. The condominium conditions do include that fencing will be required around the perimeter of the site as well. So in terms of putting a connection through, there will be a fence separating.
Okay, and on the fence, I was going over here, I did have some discussions with Mr. Stevenson earlier. I just wanted to confirm that council does not have the authority to determine I wanted to see a wooden fence for an extra barrier and extra protection, but apparently we do not have the authority to enforce that. Is that correct?
That is correct. We do not have the ability to put into conditions what type of material the fence will be, just that the fence is required.
Okay, just I want to flag this now because I think staff has to connect with the clerks, but I do intend on bringing forward amendments both to restrict the height for the homes back on Schweitzer Street to 2 stories, maintaining the height restrictions is already in the report, and I also will be adding the restriction of 2nd-story balconies on those homes along Schweitzer Street as well, to ensure that the residents are protected in that respect. So if staff can connect with the clerks on those, I'd really appreciate it. My next question is on the traffic. I'm not reflective of our city staff here, but I'm not content with the response from the region in terms of what they are seeing and what their numbers say versus what the residents are telling me versus whenever I drive down that stretch at rush hour or around those times. And I guess my question is, the only thing in here is the integrated mobility plan as a question mark to try and solve this. Can you help me understand what the integrated mobility plan might look at fixing?
I'll do my best to answer that one as it is a region project, but through that they will be looking at the current region network, traffic conditions, and more about connectivity and looking at improvements that need to be made for forecasting things in their capital plan, understanding where there are pinch points, what improvements need to be made right now. And as indicated in the report, that consultation will be starting later this year with the public to understand where they may be feeling those pinch points as well.
Okay, because it also said in the staff report too that there are no current, quoting here, actually no current plans for intersection or capacity upgrades for Lancaster Bridge or Bloomingdale or the bridge itself right now. So is that subject to change pending this?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, that's helpful. The last question I have is if staff can and I promised Ms. Schaefer to ask this question, I guess she ducked out, but anyway. If you could explain what happens, what are the applicant's options if council were to turn this application down based on traffic issues?
To clarify, if council were to refuse the application citing traffic concerns?
Yes, if the application is refused based on traffic concerns, what are the applicant's options?
They could appeal to the OLT in that case, and then it would go to that tribunal and be presented based on the land use planning evidence provided. I won't speculate further than that, but they do have the opportunity to appeal to the OLT, who will make the decision in that case.
And the OLT will base it entirely on planning rules and principles, and they will look at existing traffic studies, et cetera, to make the decision. Okay, those are all my questions. And Mr. Mayor, at the appropriate time, I would move the motion with those 2 additional amendments that I've referred to.
Okay, I do have additional questions. Councillor Deneau, and then I have some on the traffic issue as well. Councillor Deneau?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And where are we in the process for a timeline of an appeal if we refuse this?
Technically, as the zoning bylaw amendment was submitted back in 2021, they could have appealed a long time ago. So they could appeal today, essentially, if they wanted to.
Okay, that's a long time. And remind me, if you can, when was the region's TIS completed?
The TIS submitted, it was not specific to the region per se, it was just a requirement for the application, yep. It was done as part of the original application in 2021, and then it was revised when the plan switched from a plan of subdivision to a plan of condominium, and that was in 2024.
Okay, and am I to assume that our staff had conversations with the region about the TIS?
Correct, yes. Both city staff and region staff looked at it, reviewed, and made comments based on that review.
Are we in the capacity to ask the region to perform another TIS?
We would be asking the applicant and their consultant to do another traffic study, and with this scale of development and considering as of right permissions, I'm not sure if it would be appropriate to have them do another one, as it may return similar results. Even with the additional intersections included, it would look at traffic as it is today and recommend improvements and where we can make improvements, and ultimately the region would have to make the decision on those noted concerns around Bridge and Bloomingdale.
Mr. Stevenson, you want to add something?
Yes, thank you, through the mayor. So the applicant was required to retain an independent professional to use standard practice. The terms of reference for a TIS are approved by both regional and city staff. That original TIS was completed, reviewed, and accepted by both the region and the city staff. As Mr. Whitman noted, it was revised when the application was revised. It was updated. Those TISs take into consideration future growth as well as existing traffic conditions. So there would be, in our opinion, no reason to require another independent professional to conduct a similar traffic study, as the terms of reference would be the same. They would use the same principles that are widely accepted in Ontario and would likely reach the same conclusion.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Stretch?
Thank you. In the amendments, I just want some clarification around the balcony. So the balcony in your amendment is facing Schweitzer, but balconies would be allowed elsewhere. Okay.
Okay, so just want to follow up, either Mr. Whitman or Mr. Stevenson on the traffic reports, because obviously they were done. The last one was done in 2024. A lot has changed since then, including the introduction of a new manufacturing plant that's on Bridge Street, and the capacity and possibility for additional buildings to be built. And on top of that, the concern that was raised about Highway 7 and what that will ultimately do, and it's difficult for us to know that for sure, but it's reasonable to anticipate that any exits that come into the area will generate additional traffic. So how's that factored into this decision process? And as is the whole issue of the growth that we might continue to expect in the area, and the need for potentially a second span over the river, which ultimately would resolve a lot of the issues and concerns we're hearing about.
Certainly, and specifically regarding Highway 7, it is outside of the city's control in this application as well. So it's difficult to speculate exactly how that will impact the area. But it is important to consider that when a TIS is prepared, it's not necessarily meant to function as a yes or no, or a go, no-go for development. It's a tool to understand traffic flows, traffic generation, particularly at peak times, and understand what intersection improvements or other infrastructure improvements need to be made to help alleviate those potential growth. And growth is accounted for in the TIS with a percentage modifier, because it is difficult to predict too far into the future with what new applications may come, how things will evolve. So as a specific tool, the TIS really says, in today's looking at a modest growth projection, are there measures that the city can do to improve traffic flows? And ultimately, it's something that's in the region's hands for where there are those traffic concerns. And they, at this point in time, have said through their review that they're accepting of the study and what it's concluding right now with the current conditions.
Okay, but I guess where I'm going is, if there are traffic concerns potentially, I mean, could we be in a world where we approve the application, but it's contingent on a second span being built, and then the responsibility would lie with the region, and once that happens, then it could potentially continue going forward? Mr. Stevenson?
Thank you. In response to your question, Mayor, We can use a tool that's called the holding provision within the zoning bylaw. Holding provisions have to be a measure that can be completed by an applicant in order to satisfy the reason for the holding provision. I don't see a direction in the Planning Act where we could put a holding provision on a private development that relies on a provincial infrastructure like a bridge, that the applicant would not be able to influence the outcome of that. I think what's important to note is that while there was a TIS completed for this application, this on its own would not normally meet the threshold for requiring such study. The AM and PM peak hours are less than 1 car per minute. In terms of what we would look for that would typically trigger a TIS would be 100 movements within the AM and PM peak hours. We do understand, and we do have a history of looking at transportation movements throughout Bridgeport North. When the roundabout was being constructed and before the capacity was increased at the Lancaster and Bridgeport intersection, there was holding provisions that were in place until that infrastructure was done, but that was broad across a larger region. In response to that infrastructure being in place now, we do have direct tech through fire division, and there are regional plans, and there may be, as a result of cumulative development, changes to the regional road infrastructure, and there also may be traffic reductions based on the new Highway 7 bridge crossing. So I would say that in terms of this application, we're really considering 13 units more that the zoning provision would facilitate if approved by council. And the TIS and the growth assumptions would assume what's already in place in terms of the land use designation and the zoning. So we're really talking about 13 units. Certainly, as a community changes and grows over time, there is comprehensive work that needs to be done to have that check and balance to make sure that the infrastructure is able to support that. And that's the work that Mr. Whitman has indicated the region's intending to undertake on a more comprehensive scale.
Okay, I just want to clarify one thing you said. You referenced one, if I understood you correctly, 1 vehicle a minute. Are you talking about what the impact would be of these additional units in terms of the potential for 1 vehicle a minute? Because certainly if you've ever traveled in that area, and I certainly have, there's way more cars going through that roundabout than 1 vehicle a minute.
Thank you for the opportunity to clarify. That was the AM and peak hour estimates as part of the TIS, and that would be the full development, just not the additional 13 units, but the full development. That is the AM and PM peak hour trips.
But that's not counting what's already going there, through there, correct?
No, these would be additional trips.
These are additional trips.
As a result of the development.
As a result of this and what the manufacturing developments on Bridge Street?
No, the TIS is focused on what would the impact be of this development on the existing road network, and then known developments at the time of the TIS would be considered as part of the development. There was, I'll pull it up, but I'm fairly confident there's a TIS completed for the manufacturing facility as well.
Okay, so it's looking at it specifically in relation to the additional pressure from this development, not the overall traffic flow going through the area.
That's correct, and the information on the existing condition accounts for everything that's known at the time of the study being completed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Reedman, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, through the mayor. So the TIS does also look at intersection capacity as well overall with this development and other growth that's anticipated to happen in the area. But this development specifically is only likely to attribute 1 car per minute during AM and PM peak hours, if that is clarity. And there's only 13 additional units over what's as of right already. And so essentially it's a subset of that is what's being asked of today.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Singh.
Yeah, so my question was going to be related to that. I think staff answers it fairly well. The impact, overall impact, is the difference of the 13 extra units being requested. So to take a step back, I think it would be helpful for the committee or council, as well as the delegations, to understand that once more. The current zoning is what zoning?
The current zoning is R4.
The current zoning is R4. How many units? Does the applicant already have a site plan or preliminary site plan based on the existing zoning?
I am unaware if a plan was made based on the as-of-right permissions.
Okay, based on the as-of-right permissions, we already know that 13 extra units are being requested, but as-of-right density, how many units could they build on that site?
About 100.
So they could build 100, although those 100 units would be a different type of a housing stock, but still 100 units.
Correct. If it was entirely semi-detached, which is currently permitted, it'd be about 100 units. Their current plan has a mix of street townhouses, which bumps it up to an extra 13 over that.
That's understandable. Right now, the question being referenced back, and I hear the concerns of the area residents, and I think the overall transportation demand management is absolutely necessary. But that's a larger question in conversation with the region. But in respect to this applicant or this specific property, could they proceed forward, irrespective of if no decision is made today, for whatever reason, if this council were to turn it down, could they then choose, if they choose not to appeal the decision, could they proceed forward with the development of 100 units on that site without requiring any additional approvals?
Correct. Aside from a draft plan of condominium, they could proceed without a rezoning and get about 100 units.
And the draft plan of condominium, does that require a transportation impact assessment?
It would be at the discretion of our transportation staff, but understanding the level of units, ultimately I would defer to our transportation staff, but possibly not.
So we have very limited control to halt the development of the bare minimum 100 units.
Correct, and as I've stated before, the TIS isn't exactly a yes or a no to a development. It's what improvements can the city make to help traffic.
And as a summary back to the initial question, right now, all we're really assessing is the increase from 100 as-of-right units to 113 with the zoning application.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Davey.
Yes, thank you. Just one question that I forgot to mention earlier. In the earlier presentation, the applicant indicated that they would be building a play structure on site. Is that formalized in this? I just don't remember seeing that in here.
Yes, through you, the chair, the play area is noted on the plan of condominium, and then the condominium conditions do include that as part of the common element, which is that children's play area. It is specifically noted as being required in there and will have to go through site plan approval.
Excellent. Okay, I'll have comment at the appropriate time as well, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, this is it. Oh, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I think the important takeaway here is, I think what we're understanding is that there's a serious traffic concern that we don't have the ability to address ourselves in a two-tier municipal system. What would end up happening is if we were to decline this, or even if we deferred it at this point, the applicant is well within his rights to appeal this to a different body called the OLT, which effectively means that in all likelihood they would get this development approved by a body above our heads, and potentially even losing some of the concessions we're having here, including the playground structure that's going to be in there, limiting the height to some of the homes to 2 stories instead of 3 stories, the second-story balconies. We would potentially most likely lose all of that if this council were to turn this down. What I am going to say and ask the mayor going forward is obviously he shares my concern about traffic issues going forward, not in isolation with this development, but in all the developments that are proposed, planned for in that entire area. I am not satisfied with the region's addressing of it so far. Lancaster Street to the bridge and the roundabout are absolute bottlenecks that absolutely needs to be addressed. It can't be addressed through this process, but I do think that we've addressed it the best that we can. I think the other thing to point out here too is my concern for the residents that are going to live here is park space, and I am happy to see staff confirming that Schaefer Park is going to get a significant new playground. That process is beginning this fall, and I understand the construction will begin next year to address some of this, but I think this is the best possible compromise that we're going to get, Mr. Mayor. So I think we'll need to see the amendments at the appropriate time come up on the screen.
Okay, so do you want to read the amendment, or just, it's fine, okay? Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Davy.
Yeah, sure. So the gist of the amendment is for the homes that have the shortest rear yards are the ones on Schweitzer. So any new home that's being constructed that backs onto Schweitzer Street will be limited to 2 stories instead of 3, which is within the existing zoning here. And it would also remove any possibility of any second-story balconies, which I've heard a lot of residents being concerned about lately in other areas of the city as well. The residents are asked to take a lot as we address infill, and I think these small tweaks can go a long way to making sure that the residents are doing their fair share and accepting more infill, but also trying to do our best to respect their privacy.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Singh.
Yeah, I'll speak to the amendments, and overall, I think the application of itself. I agree with what Councillor Davy has put forward in his explanation regarding, I think, the limitation of control by this council. Because of what's being requested, it is not a substantive overreach from the current as a right zoning, which already allows 100 units. Understanding that just additional 13 units are requested does not fundamentally change the transportation issue that does exist in that neighborhood. I think from what this conversation, what will be fruitful, and those in the gallery should take some comfort in this, is a ongoing level of advocacy that I think I'm confident that Mayor Vivenovic will lead at the conversation at the region, and Ward 1 does have very effective representation through Councillor Davy, who will continue on placing that pressure with the region and conversation with our transportation department to continue on that conversation of how Bridgeport as a whole can have a better infrastructure related to transportation and the safety, of course, of crossing over that bridge and the better flow. As I ask questions of staff regarding exactly what the current allowance is, I think this is well within what is reasonable. What the applicant is asking to change, they're just looking at a different type of housing stock that doesn't necessarily exist all that much in that neighborhood. So I think it speaks to our overall housing strategy of having a wider range of housing stocks and housing livable options. So I think it speaks to what we were already kind of encouraging. What I do see from the amendment is not necessarily something I think I would have put forward essentially myself, but at the same time, I'm not the ward resident. I don't understand the community as well as Councillor Davy does. So if he feels that the privacy is a critical factor, I'm willing to support the amendments as they're written. Although, if going back to my original point, the developer could proceed forward with a semi-detached with 11-meter height. There's no mechanism for this council to stop them from doing so. But the fact that they are requesting the additional units, this is the conversation, the give and take, that usually allows a conversation where, or an advocacy that the area representative can do in making sure that the residents' concerns are better reflective of the overall application approval. And so I think that's being done through this process, through the advocacy by Councillor Davy. So I support the amendment, and again, as a comfort to those in the gallery and the area residents, I think this is going to be a larger dialogue with the region, as well as advocacy that Mayor Vivenovic and Councillor Davy will proceed forward with.
Councillor Ioannidis.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mayor Vivenovic, I will support the amendments and the recommendation. I agree with the sentiments of Councillor Davy and his opinion of the area that he represents. I just want to also echo the comments with regards to the traffic and have it regarded in the minutes too as well, that I think I don't think there is a serious concern with traffic here, especially with the roundabout and the bridge. And I'm not sure what the plan is, but if we don't have a plan, we're just expecting the bridge from the province to build Highway 7. We know how long that's been. going on. So that's a serious concern for me. So you can add my voice to the advocacy as well for that, just for the record.
So to that effect, because I do know, and I think all of us are sensing the frustration and concern around traffic in that area. I'm wondering, Councillor Davey, either as part of your amendment or as a separate bullet, if you'd consider adding an additional point directing that we write formal correspondence from our council to the region, expressing our concern about traffic in Bridgeport, and asking for the region to look at addressing it as soon as possible. Councillor Davey?
Yes, yeah, thank you, Mayor, for the suggestion. Actually, my original plan was to mostly go through you as our regional council representative, but now that you mention it, actually, it would probably be a lot more meaningful if they were aware that this was a concern shared by all members of Kitchener Council. So I would take you up on that suggestion, and I would move that recommendation.
So, okay, so I will add that to your amendment, and did we have a seconder for the amendment? Councillor Stretch, so are you comfortable with that as well? Okay, so that'll be added to the motion. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, thank you. So folks, that has been approved with the amendments around height and around the balconies, and also advocacy to the region around transportation concerns. Thank you for coming in tonight and being part of this process. Okay, we'll now move on then to reports of committees, and we'll start with Heritage Kitchener. Councillor Chapman. Just hang on, sorry. Go ahead.
It's been moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Michaud. I assume she's attending virtually. That the report of Heritage Kitchener dated August 4, 2026, listed as items 7.1a to 7.1b on the agenda this date be adopted.
Okay, thank you. It has been moved and seconded. Any comments? If not, those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 7.2, Councillor Davey, Finance and Corporate Services Committee.
Yes, thank you. It's been moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Bill Ioannidis that the items arising from Finance and Corporate Services Committee be adopted.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to item 7.3, Planning and Strategic Initiatives. Are we okay? Okay, sorry, you just had the uh-oh look. Thank you. 7.3, Planning and Strategic Initiatives, Councillor Singh, and I will just note the addendum report for Kitchener Green, which is item 7.3.c. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All items arising from the Planning and Strategic Initiatives Committee from October the 10th, and the items that are remaining that have not been voted on, including the addendum, as you've specified, included in this report, are moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chapman.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That too is carried. Thank you very much. Is there any unfinished business? Any new business? Okay, we'll move then into mayoral business and updates, and I have two items I want to report on today. One is the situation that occurred Friday night at midnight with respect to tariffs and trade, and then also to provide a bit of an update on the city's actions with respect to the region of Waterloo water capacity issues. So you can just bear with me 1 second. Colleagues, on Friday evening, just past midnight, Canadians learned that there was a breakdown in negotiations between our Canadian government with the current U.S. administration in the White House pertaining to the threat of tariffs previously announced by the U.S. President. As such, Prime Minister Carney called back Canada's negotiating team to Ottawa and communicated news of this to Canadians on Friday evening via media statement and via a press conference on Saturday morning. These were followed by a meeting with the premiers and the cabinet. Since news of this first broke, Canada's premiers, national business organizations, and leaders have rallied around the Prime Minister and our government. I would frame the message heard over the last 72 hours plus around three main themes: Canadian unity around protecting Canadian sovereignty, 2, protecting local jobs and businesses, and 3, using this moment to accelerate economic resilience and diversification. Sadly, our longtime neighbor, partner, and ally made the choices they did in negotiations, but our Canadian negotiators stood firm and recognized that no deal is better than a bad deal. Over the course of the weekend, I've been in touch with various provincial and federal officials and also offered an initial statement via social media, thanking them all for their tireless efforts over many months on behalf, and especially in recent weeks, on behalf of Canadians. And I also extended our gratitude to them for standing together as one team, united for Canada. The breakdown of Canada-US trade negotiations and the imposition of the new tariffs mark a deeply concerning escalation in an economic conflict that neither country ultimately wins. As Canadians, I believe we must stay united. Canada must remain open to negotiations, but we cannot accept a deal that compromises our economic interests or sovereignty, or go back to the table if there isn't a meaningful rationale provided by our U.S. partners in this regard. For Kitchener, this is particularly challenging. Our local manufacturing economy is deeply connected to continental supply chains and export markets. When tariffs disrupt these relationships, the consequences are felt by local employers, workers, and families. That's why this evening I'm sharing that earlier today I've asked staff to resume the City of Kitchener's Tariff and Trade Task Force that was originally started in 2025. When this challenge first emerged at that time, our task force moved quickly. We strengthened buy Canadian and buy local procurement, worked with suppliers to identify Canadian alternatives, engaged directly with trade-exposed businesses, supported import substitution, and launched our Support Local campaign with community and business partners. I think we're all recognizing that now we're going to need to go further. I will ask the task force to examine additional opportunities to strengthen local and Canadian procurement, support affected businesses and workers, identify our most vulnerable industries for government advocacy, help companies diversify into new Canadian international markets, and work with other governments and business organizations, including Best WR, to advocate for meaningful assistance. Kitchener has always been a community of makers, innovators, and entrepreneurs. In this moment of uncertainty, it's important that we all stand together, supporting local, buying Canadian, protecting jobs, and building a stronger, more resilient economy for a stronger Kitchener and Waterloo region, a stronger Ontario, and a stronger Canada. I'd also like to provide an update, as I said, on the region of Waterloo's water resources. Since our last regular council meeting, we've made important progress in managing our community's very valuable water resources. Following the region's approval of its interim water allocation framework, Kitchener established our own water allocation policy to make sure available capacity is directed to projects that deliver the greatest benefits to our community. Through our first allocation, we're enabling affordable and supportive housing for families across the city. Build Now at Holborn Court will offer 60 homes for purchase at below market prices using city-donated land and federal funding. Reception House Wellington North will create 34 additional new traditional housing units for newcomers to the country. And the Fire Station Aiden Housing Development Project will deliver better emergency services for the city and 281 at or below market rate rental units. These projects show what's possible when we carefully balance immediate community needs with responsible stewardship of a limited resource. There's also been progress at the regional level. The water supply system has been stabilized and work continues at the Mannheim facility to restore capacity and strengthen long-term reliability. In fact, last week, the first tank was delivered to Mannheim. While that progress is welcome, it also reminds us that every liter counts and that thoughtful management of our water resources remains essential. That's why the city's work is ongoing. As additional capacity becomes available, staff will continue to carefully assess requests and prioritize projects that deliver meaningful community benefits for residents. I want to thank city staff for their hard work, their expertise, and their dedication throughout this challenge. Their efforts have not only helped Kitchener respond in a thoughtful and practical way, ensuring we're supporting important community priorities today while protecting this vital resource for the future, but they've also worked collaboratively with their counterparts at the other area municipalities and at the region in order for us to be in a situation where we've been able to move forward with the challenges that were presented more than 6 months ago. Thank you, and that would be my update. We'll now move to questions and answers. There being none, we'll then move into staff reports, and we'll start with the Parkland Acquisition Strategy, and I'll call on Simon Latham and Becca Robinson to provide a 5-minute presentation. Welcome to all of you, and Simon, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Simon Latham, Parks Planning and Development Project Manager, and I'm here alongside my colleague Becca Robinson to share with you the Parkland Acquisition Strategy that we've been preparing over the past few months. The development of this strategy is the outcome of a need identified in spaces and is listed within the city's strategic plan. We have spent the past several months engaging with various internal groups to develop a strategy that meets the challenges and opportunities that the city currently experiences. Alongside the policy foundations to this work, legislative changes have occurred to eliminate the need for this strategy and urgency around the comprehensive approach for providing park space to our residents. On this slide is a simple example of how recent provincial legislation has impacted the city's parkland dedication requirements to the development process. As a result, this strategy explores a broad range of tools beyond development applications that can be used to acquire lands for parks. The objective of this strategy is to develop a pathway for achieving the city's parkland provision goals by enabling staff to efficiently assess and act on opportunities to acquire more lands for parks, enhance existing parks, and provide better access to parks for all residents. To build quality communities, we must look at not only increasing park provisions in key areas, but also ensuring that parks and open spaces that we do have are high quality and well connected to residents. This strategy includes 4 main components. First, the strategy includes clear methodologies for assessing opportunities and procuring lands for parks. Decision-making flowcharts for each acquisition mechanism are included in the strategy and chart a clear pathway for internal engagement and decision-making around acquisition opportunities. This will increase the clarity of the process and ensure that various interested parties are included while acquisitions are being considered. Second, we reassess the park provision levels across the city using population growth data from council-approved Kitchener 2051 and all active park spaces. This analysis ensures strategic use of the existing funding for the areas that are most critically underserved for parks now or in the future. Third, we've developed a criteria scorecard that allows us to assess possible properties for acquisitions more objectively, giving weight to a parcel's suitability and its context and how feasible it could be to develop a park there. And finally, number 4, 10 key actions. The core recommendations of this strategy we'd like council to endorse for continued work towards reaching the parkland provision target.
Sorry, thanks. Currently, the only allocated stream of funding for acquiring new land for parks is the Park Trust Fund. Funding derived from cash in lieu payments for parkland dedication required through the development process. A key component of the strategy is a clear understanding that there isn't sufficient budget in the Park Trust Fund to close the gap on parkland provision in all planning communities right away. The available funding needs to be strategically applied to priority areas in the short term. The analysis in the strategy helps to achieve this. By considering the population growth forecast endorsed in Kitchener 2051 and acknowledging any existing active park spaces, we see the planning communities that have the lowest projected parkland provision and that may require the highest priority use of the Park Trust Fund. Each of the 9 planning communities determined to be critical or high need for parkland acquisition were examined in more detail with respect to anticipated timing of intensification and opportunities for acquisition. As a result, 3 planning communities in particular came into focus as short-term priorities for using the Park Trust Fund for land acquisition. King East, KW Hospital, and Bridgeport West are the planning communities where the current need for parkland is high and where the development process is the least likely to yield a neighborhood or community park. In addition to the 3 priority areas we've just shown, the strategy concludes with 10 key actions that include recommendations around management of the Park Trust Fund, exploration of additional funding to accelerate this work, and regular updates to Council on progress and longer range planning beyond these short-term priorities I've just discussed. The strategy represents both a short-term blueprint for action to strategically use existing funds and a pathway for longer-term considerations of how and when the city can address parkland provision in all planning communities across Kitchener. So that concludes our presentation, and we're happy to answer questions or provide any additional details you'd require.
Okay, thank you very much. And we can ask you both to turn on your mics, and that way you're eligible to jump in as necessary. And we do have several questions for you, and we'll start with Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you so much for your presentation. It's exciting to see the work that you're doing on this, which is incredibly important to our residents, is to improve more parkland access across the city. I was wondering, tonight we saw the presentation of the GIS Gold Award that the City of Kitchener won, and one of the things that we won on, one of the projects was on the equity piece, looking at equity across the city in terms of access to parks, demographics, et cetera. Can you speak to how this has informed what you're doing here?
Through the mayor. That specific tool will be a useful source of data going forward, which we'd anticipate using. The analysis in our strategy consisted of 2 parts. One was purely kind of data-driven numerical calculation of park provision by resident. And so that gave us sort of an objective method by which we determined the 9 planning communities in critical or high need. The second phase of our analysis is more subjective in a way, in that we can then apply various equity lenses as well as other considerations such as existing opportunities for acquisition or timeline of intensification for us to get to the 3 priority planning communities we discussed. So our strategy builds off the equity lens that was established in Spaces, which is based off of, or included data for each planning community on median household income and the dwelling type. So 3 planning communities we showed as our first primary focal area. Our recommendation for priority action does take that into account and is detailed more than in our strategy within the Spaces document.
Yeah, thank you. And I would assume that whenever we're looking at population distribution and households, that it probably would match up in many ways. I would like to see in future when we have a report like this, that's an intentional piece of the report where we're talking about how we're meeting those goals on it would be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for this report. So I'm just concerned, well, a couple things. It's in the report, it says that staff will review the budget in 2027 and report back as part of the 2028 budget. Why are we not doing it this year? I mean, we've been working on this, you know, parkland acquisition since 2022. And this is just, you know, putting it back another couple years.
Mr. Stevenson? Just hang on. Hold on.
Thank you, and through the mayor to Councillor Chapman, and thank you for the question. What we're looking at for this parkland acquisition strategy is what is a sizable solution that we can achieve given the Parkland Trust Fund balance that we do currently have, understanding that meeting the parkland provision across the entire city is a very long-term project and requires, as a result of legislative changes, additional funding. We believe that the 25 million that's in the Parkland Trust Fund with the projected increases from development applications, and given that the current cost of land is somewhat reduced in the last few years, that it's a manageable delivery to bring forward 3 specific park projects as part of this. Should council wish to explore changes to the Parkland Trust Fund, funding parkland acquisition from a different opportunity, we're suggesting that that would be part of Budget 2028 discussions, because we do have funding to do some immediate acquisitions for the 3 priority areas that we've already identified. So we have the money now. We have, like most municipalities and people in our communities, we're trying to achieve what we can in a way that we can afford it right now. And so we believe that we can use the Parkland Acquisition Trust Fund to fund these improvements and acquisitions without an impact, and that 2028 would be the appropriate time to potentially revisit alternative funding models.
Okay. In the report, it says within the next 5 years, the staff and council should explore alternatives and complementary funding options to replenish the Park Trust Fund. Can you just elaborate a bit more on where one might explore what the exploration process is going to look like?
Through you, Mayor, and to Councillor Chapman, we have, so in the Parkland Acquisition Strategy, there are 7 different approaches that we've identified. So purchasing land outright with money is one of the 7 opportunities. If we can't obtain parkland dedication funding through one of those 7, then it would be potentially an impact to the tax base. So we're not prepared at this point to make a recommendation to do that, given that we believe that we have acquisitions that can occur within the next 5 years using the funding that we already have.
And repurposing city property, what does that look like?
Through the chair.
Hold on, Simon, can you go ahead?
And how would it be funded? Like, what's being explored at that end?
Through the chair, the mechanism for repurposing the city-owned lands is really looking at our existing assets that we own currently and exploring opportunities to have a portion of those city-owned lands or all of them turned into parkland before those city assets are sold out or let go. I'll refer to Garrett on the funding piece for that portion.
Mr. Stevenson? Thank
you, Mayor, and to Councillor Chapman. So in the report, we do outline that about 4 years ago, so August 22nd, 2022, with the Parkland acquisition, the Parkland strategic plan and dedication update, there was a recommendation that we look at all city-owned lands through various processes for parkland potential. So that's work that goes on already and will continue to ongo. Or will continue through either various projects. So some consideration may be done through other separate projects, and we would look at that as part of any disposition of city-owned lands.
In the report, it also mentions, in the same context, the Bram Yards. Do you have any update on how that's being looked at?
So through the mayor, so Bram Yards is a separate master plan, so that will be done. And as part of that master plan, there was consideration for some public realm improvements, but not necessarily a park. So that's an example of a project that is related that may also look at parkland, but not necessarily be part of this strategy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chapman. Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor. When we talk about partnerships, are we talking things like working with the school boards?
Just hang on. Ms. Robinson, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, that's a good example of what a partnership could look like. Partnering with another public land owner, such as a school board, to improve a schoolyard, for example, so that it would be useful outside of school hours, or other types of partnerships, which could include repurposing available land for parkland use by the community.
I think we've seen some good examples of that in Franklin Park with the multi-use sports court, and Knollwood Park, where it benefits the school during the day and the community at night. And when we're talking park spaces, are we meaning strictly like grass and trees parkland, or doing, as Mr. Stevenson referred to, is some of the public realm spaces, as we have on Gaukel Street, more things like that?
Through the mayor, we are specifically talking about active park spaces, which would include neighborhood and community parks, so places that are programmed for active use, as opposed to natural areas, streetscape improvements, or passive open spaces. In terms of the parkland provision, the spaces you mentioned are supportive and contribute to the open space network, but regarding acquisition, we're looking at active park spaces.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schneider. Councillor Stretch.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I am so excited to see this in front of council, and am eager to see movement on this. I just want to confirm, so it's 25.5 million, and we're looking at prioritizing 3 spaces using up to that 25 million?
Mr. Latham?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct. We're looking at using our existing funds that we have for those 3 priority areas.
Great.
Not necessarily all of it, could be a portion of it, but yes, up to the 25 and a half that we have.
Great, and I am just wanting to confirm, I see that King East is identified as one of the top 3 areas prioritized in this acquisition strategy. And Kenna, that's a neighborhood association in King East. So I'm just confirming that that is within their boundary.
That is correct. This parkland acquisition strategy specifically speaks for an acquisition opportunity within the King East boundaries, within the planning community, yes.
Great, and with this sizable amount of money, we're looking at more than just a small park, a parkette, I think is what we refer them to. Is that correct?
That would be correct. Ultimately, for any of the planning communities, we're looking for potentially an aggregated collection of parcels, but truly just looking for something that meets our criteria and scores well and will serve the residents of those planning communities well.
Okay, and so I see also the timeline is within 5 years. See movement on those 3 identified parks. But I've also heard language like immediate acquisitions. So, you know, after this meeting, presuming this passes, what kind of action will we see?
We are going to explore opportunities within all 3 planning communities and start some conversations with property owners and bringing back those property owners to council if action is required on those.
Great. Okay. Yeah, I'd love to see our foot on the gas with this, so thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stretch. Councillor Ioannidis.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Urbanovic. I guess my questions are a little bit different than what Councillor Stretch would be. I'm just wondering, why is this here on a council meeting and not through a committee meeting?
Can I answer that, Mr. Stevenson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a follow-up report. This did come to the committee for discussion in August of 2025. So granted, it has been a little bit of time, but this is a follow-up report, and it also follows up some individual council engagements and conversations that we did have over the past number of months.
Okay. And considering that there's not really a budget for 2026, I'm still not understanding why we're here right now looking at this.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, and to Councillor Ioannidis. This is, when we talk about parkland acquisition and we talk about the need for parkland, we've been, staff and council have been around these horseshoes and we've heard that's a need. And so what this does is it looks at creating a very strategic scope of what we can achieve with the budget that we have now, given the other financial pressures and realities that we are currently facing as a municipality, and ensuring that we can start to deliver on delivering these park spaces. We hear a need for parkland with most development applications, and we hear it in many planning communities. What this work specifically does is it builds on spaces and applies the growth projections as part of the Kitchener official plan that was approved in June to look at what are the critical priority needs areas so that we can start to take action now. We intend, and the reason that we put a 5-year lens on this particular strategy is that as we start to deliver new parks and communities, the strategic priorities may change and the critical needs areas may change, and we may need to adjust. We also heard through some of the conversations that parks can be delivered in multiple ways, including many new parks that have our colleagues in design and development have done engagement on and have delivered new spaces with existing land that have filled a parkland need that was existing in a community. So this is really only one piece of how to acquire the land in order to continue to deliver parks. And this is one of many ways that we deliver parks across the city.
Okay. I guess, so when you said you had consultations, did you have consultations with members of council for this prior?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we did focused small sessions with 1 to 3 councillors in meetings.
Okay. I guess my final concern would be is how would I be able to justify this expenditure to the residents that I represent who want to have their parks upgraded?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think what I think is important is that we have used the equity lens that's applied through spaces. We've carried that forward to ensure that there's equal access to parkland, and we want to develop and continue to deliver parks across the city, but we need to prioritize. And looking at areas that are already underserved and areas where growth is projected to increase parkland demand has been our top priority. This is only one part of delivering new great parks to the city. As I previously mentioned, our colleagues in design and development do engagement. Council approves through separate budget items improvements to existing parks to be able to deliver new park experiences, parkland improvements citywide. So this doesn't mean that we're only going to have 3 new parks for the next 5 years. It means that the acquisition of land for the purpose of a park would be for the next 5 years, and there would still be lots of opportunity through our regular work that's already budgeted for in the 10-year capital program to continue to improve parks. So I think all constituents across the entire city will continue to see the city improving and delivering excellent parks.
Okay, thank you for all that. That was a great explanation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ioannidis. Councillor Duneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks, Garrett, because that was my question. If this money is separate from like the retrofitting money of parks versus building new parks or creating new parks. So thank you for that. Obviously, we're not deciding on anything anytime soon, but will future councils be presented with what city lands are being potentially designated as parkland?
Ms. Robinson?
Through the mayor, yes, as part of our mechanism flow charts and the appendices of the strategy, final decisions around these mechanisms will be brought to council.
Okay, and I didn't see it, but like, is there a list that we already have developed with potential parkland opportunities across the city?
In terms of existing city-owned assets
Yeah,
or in
yeah,
general?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with our ongoing work the past 12 months on this, we have began preliminary analysis of the target planning communities so that we can ensure our recommendation is scoped to areas that are already being well served through other processes like the development process, park improvements, and other things going on in other departments of the city. So we have begun that work. We have not formalized it into a list that we're prepared to share.
Okay, and fair enough, and I figured that was the answer. But there was a mention of instead of selling off parks, we'll look at, instead of selling off city land, that'll be part of the process to look at building these 3 new parks. Is that to assume that we won't sell off any city land between now and then, while we're still in the process of looking for parkland in those areas?
I see both Mr. Stevenson and Mr. Reedman. Mr. Reedman, and I guess you're pulling rank, so go ahead.
Through the mayor, so any disposition of land would be a council decision, and that typically happens in camera.
Right, okay. All right. You're good? Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you for giving me another opportunity. Will there be public input once these lands are acquired? Like, will you be reaching out to neighborhood associations and different communities to determine what those parks will actually look like?
Mr. Latham?
Through the chair, yes, our development and design team, as part of any park development project, does public engagement, and that would be included throughout these parcels as well.
Okay, great. And I just had one last question about the POPs. I know it's not to do with the acquisition necessarily, but another way to get more parkland. I just hope that we don't have more BB3s. Can I say that here? But we actually have nice park with actual grass.
Sorry, Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, and through the mayor to Councillor Chapman. One of the projects on our work plate coming up following this work is to develop a POPs guidelines, and that will set out the standards within our design manual of what our expectations are for POPs and what would be considered to be parks. So we anticipate to bring that work to in future, but your comment is noted, and yes, parks will be part of the overall parkland offerings in neighborhoods, and ensuring that those POPs are really great, that they feel like open and inviting spaces and are usable is key priority.
With trees. Oh.
With trees.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So those are all the questions. Does someone care to move the report? Councillor Davey, and I'll need a seconder. Councillor Chapman, thank you. I have comments. Councillor Ioannidis.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Urbanovic, and I want to thank staff for bringing this forward with us with the lens of equity and all that stuff. And based on the information that's in this report, the areas that are in focus are definitely in need of a park space. So I don't have really concern for that, and I think. Members of council. I think Councillor Stretch really advocated for park space, so I think this makes sense moving forward. So I'm happy to support it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Deneau.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and again, thank you for the report. And I just want to thank staff on both sides and also council for recognizing how important parks play in the lives and the development of our young people and our old people. you know, I'm lucky to represent a ward where we've had significant development, good development in a few of our parks, and you know, I enjoy when we're walking out with my family and seeing the parks full, and because I know how important it is to some of our most vulnerable population. And so I look forward to having this continue on and providing good parks across every ward. Hopefully we see some more accessible parks in each ward, but I have faith in our staff in making the best decision for our city. So thank you.
Okay, Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, I just want to agree with others. I'm really pleased to see some movement on this, and I look forward to even more investments in the future. I think, you know, parks, we need them, right? As we intensify and as we grow, people need those places to go and just be. And so I'm really pleased to see this coming forward, so thank you.
Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor Brevanovic. I too want to thank staff for the thoroughness on this, the research, the equity lens that has been put into this. And I know down the halls with Councillor Chapman and Councillor Stretch in their wards, the importance of park space, and they've been advocating with the rest of council and with you. So really appreciate that. I love that there will be engagement on this. I can tell you that in my ward, when we created the park network with Kinsey, Oughton, and Idlewood Park, there was incredible engagement done. And the final results were so pleasing to the residents of that area, and the amenities that are in those parks that you can easily get through in all parts of the neighborhoods. I especially love the new equipped sport lockers that we're fortunate to have that also increase accessibility to the amenities that we have in our parks. So really looking forward to seeing some more great community infrastructure in the areas where it's needed the most. Thank you.
Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just wanted to add my thanks as well. You've heard from everybody today, and I think you can see just how excited we are about our parks. I see our parks as really a great equalizer. I kind of look at them the way I look at libraries. They are a free place for people to go and enjoy themselves and not have to pay to enter a park, just a free place to go to. And they're incredible. And as you can tell, this is one of the subjects that gets council most excited, is the opportunity to talk about our parks and just how important they really, really are. You get to work in a really fun area, so good for you guys. Great choice on careers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Davey.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to point out, it's like, again, we've had some great champions for additional park space on this council. A couple have been mentioned, Councillors Chapman and Councillor Stretch especially, but also it's important to credit our staff in terms of the database decision-making they made on this. So I noticed, Bridgeport is in the list of critical need, which is something that they just found out through the data, right? So this is not, I just want to be clear to the public that while many of us advocate for these aren't political decisions. These are decisions based 100% on need. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. Councillor Stretch.
Yes, thank you. My comment really was echoing Councillor Davey. I'm just so appreciative of the way we've been able to listen to community and then back that up with data. Thank you for doing the work, and thank you for listening. Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much for dealing with my endless questions and taps on the shoulders and elbow nudges. So I'm so pleased to see this in front of us. I'm pleased to see the total we have to work with. It's significant and something that we can do some really meaningful places and spaces work. So thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for your comments, and to staff for all the work. I just want to add a few of my own comments and appreciation for this body of work that's been developing for some time, and and really acknowledge the leadership of Councillors Chapman and Stretch in particular, but the collective advocacy of all members of council in terms of moving this forward. We know, as Councillor Davey just touched on a few moments ago, that, you know, based on doing a data analysis, we identified areas of the city that are underserved, and they need to be part of our priority going forward. And this work really not only has identified that, but is identifying next steps in terms of how to move forward in that regard. I will tell you, just having, you know, and many of us participated in the Elvis pop-ups that were done again this summer. Folks will remember we did them originally during COVID, and at that time they were very welcomed because people were, you know, felt a sense of pent-up frustration from being inside, not a lot of social contact, and they were just really a breath of fresh air. I was beyond pleasantly surprised as we undertook them to, quite frankly, bring some joy to neighborhoods, but also to promote the new Cowan Recreation Center at RBJ Schlegel Park. And it's opening later this year. How well received they were, but because many of the events actually occurred adjoining a number of our parks, I was so pleasantly surprised by how well our parks were being used. It didn't matter what day of the week it was. Didn't matter if it was sunny outside or you know, potential for rain. They were always well used. They, you know, as you looked in certain neighborhoods where that perhaps you know, there were some that are more socio-economically challenged, the value that the parks meant to people in those neighborhoods as you talk to them, and the joy of these pop-up concerts and so on, it really was tremendous. And so I say these things for two things. Number one, it speaks to the value of the kinds of things we're doing, not just with festivals and so on down here, but these kind of pop-up music events throughout the city. But more importantly, the importance of the investments that we put in our parks and so on. And so just really want to thank staff for all of that work, but you know, also remind the future council and whoever will be sitting around this horseshoe after November 15th about the importance of these investments going forward. Councillor Singh, you needed to add something?
Yeah, I think you raised something. I promised someone that I wasn't going to speak too much, but you spoke something that really triggered in my mind, and we took part of that during the you know, the event that you talked about with the Elvis pop-ups, and we visited Alpine Park. Alpine is a community that, through the Spaces and Places strategic plan, or the parks plan, has been identified as a overall need, a medium need at the very least, as more amenity space and more park space. But to your point, when we have prioritized places that may not necessarily get immediate attention to, but the very fact that we go in those neighborhoods and remediate the existing parks that are there, and they're updated with new infrastructure, new type of equipment, people come out. They feel like they are being served, and that in itself is sufficient. And I think they are comfortable where it may take some time for additional space. But we can't do is not get there fast enough, and on top of it, not improve what's there right now. So I think out of this overall plan, we got to go to those identifiable spots that may take some years to get to, but upgrade the existing infrastructure more immediately. Thank you. But overall, again, compliments to staff. Again, there's no way of getting this right, be it the suburban or the downtown. Fact of the matter is, residents just need great places to, you know, connect with and enjoy. And I think we're trying to get there, endeavor to achieve that. So good job.
Thank you, Councillor Singh. So the motion has been moved and seconded. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Okay, we'll now move on to 11.1.b, the Kitchener Farmers Market interim operating model. And are we doing a little bit of a presentation, guys, or just answering questions? Sorry, just answering questions? Oh, okay, great. Mr. Sturgis, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and members of Council. So as you know, the Kitchener Farmers Market has been an integral part of the Kitchener community for more than 155 years. It serves as a gathering place for residents, an economic hub for local farmers, food producers, and entrepreneurs, and is a key contributor to the vitality of downtown Kitchener. Following the fire on July 12th, the city's priority has been the health and safety of vendors, customers, and staff. Our recovery efforts continue to be guided by Waterloo Region Public Health and professional remediation experts. And as a food-focused facility, the market must meet rigorous health and safety standards in order to operate. The report before Council provides an update on the recovery efforts that are already underway. Staff are mobilizing an expanded interim operating model and have invested in the temporary infrastructure required to support vendors while remediation continues. These efforts are expected to allow more than 70% of our lower-level vendors to resume operations, including key product categories such as meat and dairy providers, while work continues toward full restoration of the facility. The recommendation before Council today is focused specifically on vendor fees. Staff are proposing a temporary 50% reduction in vendor fees, along with the delegated authority to adjust temporary rates as recovery progresses. This recognizes that many vendors are operating with reduced footprints and modified conditions, and provides flexibility to support vendors throughout the recovery period. While the city has made investments to maintain market operations, we do recognize that vendors continue to face challenges. The proposed fee reduction is intended to help offset those impacts, support business continuity, and maintain a vibrant market experience for the community. And lastly, I do want to acknowledge that this has truly been an all-hands-on-deck effort across the city. Staff from multiple departments continue to work alongside vendors, insurers, consultants, contractors, and public health officials to advance remediation and return the market to normal operations as quickly and safely as possible. I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. And just before we do that, I really do want to take an opportunity to thank and acknowledge staff for all of their work in responding to the situation at the market from the initial, I guess it was Saturday night, early Sunday morning when the fire occurred, to working diligently to make sure that no market days were missed, and while the operating model needed to change for that first Saturday after the fire, the reality was that the market was open and operating, and we were fortunate to have a number of vendors that were able to be accommodated that week and in the weeks since then. I think staff have also done a great deal of work to look at an interim operating model while we undertake the work that's been identified as necessary both by the Region of Waterloo's Public Health Department, our insurance folks, and other safety professionals. I do want to make one other statement, because there seemed to be some misconceptions early on about the city's desire and commitment, and I know all of us felt disappointment in the fact that the fire occurred, and that there was a desire to and that what seemed like a small fire had as significant impact as it did. But to be unequivocally clear, the city has been and remains committed to the 155-plus year market, its operations, and the ongoing important role that it plays in this community. And I know some perhaps were speculating otherwise, and I think it's important that statement be made in a public forum here. So with that, questions of staff, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you for your tireless work on this. I know it has been a lot. I know, Andrew, I've reached out to you a number of times. I've heard from a number of residents, and I'm sure I know that everybody else has, because the Kitchener Market is such a loved part of our community, and people are devastated for the vendors and for the fact that it's, you know, they just don't want to see this be eroded. So thank you for your help in responding to those questions. And I know that you know just how much people love the market as well. So thank you for that. My question is around kind of what, first of all, I want to say I really support the reduction in fees for the vendors. That is a really good move. So thank you so much for that. I'm wondering about the plans then for the upcoming Labor Day weekend, and where we'll be situated in terms of, you know, what capacity in that will be to at that point.
Mr. Sturgis?
Through the mayor, so thank you for the question. Our plan is this interim operating model, the expanded version of it, will be starting on September 5th.
Sorry, can you speak a little more into your
So
microphone?
it'll,
Thank you.
the interim, the expanded operating model that we're talking about in this report, it will be starting on September 5th. So it'll bring an additional 16 vendors operating from those who are already operating.
Yeah, that's great, and thank you again.
And so to be clear, that will also include some like meat and dairy and others who require refrigeration. That's all being reinstalled, correct?
Through the mayor, yes. So a lot of the infrastructure involves increased electricity as well as 2 and 3 compartment sinks that are required by public health for them to operate.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Stretch.
Thank you, Mayor. One of the things I've been hearing is from residents is sort of a disconnect between the size of the fire and the cost associated with the fire and how long it's taking to see vendors kind of back up. So can you paint a picture for us about the kind of work, the remediation work, what's required through public health, what's all involved in getting our vendors back into that space?
Through the mayor, thank you, Councillor Stretch, for the question. So you're absolutely right. As much as the fire was small and contained to one specific vendor booth, the resulting smoke and particulate damage basically went out through the whole facility. So from floor to ceiling, all aspects of the facility need to be cleaned. Where surfaces can actually be cleaned and wiped, that will be done. Where they can't, they actually have to be physically removed or replaced. So you can imagine a facility of that size, how extensive that remediation and how long that will take.
Thank you. And can you speak to the public health requirements specifically around, you know, the serving of food, the packaging of food, and what that designation kind of requires us to hold our standards to?
So through the mayor to Councillor Stretch, from a public health perspective, although we, I guess, colloquially would be considered a farmer's market in our title, we are in fact a public market, which in Ontario would be anyone with 51% plus non-farmer vendors, of which we have, because we have such a large, diverse array of other foods, butchery, cheese, etc. Without that exemption, because we are a public market, we are held to the same standards as any other food premises, whether that be a restaurant, a supermarket, grocery store. So that does mean that for individual businesses, there is the need at the bare minimum for actual refrigeration over ice boxes and coolers, and then hand wash sinks and 2 compartment sinks. I would say beyond the initial purely public health portion of that, there's also the fact that we want to ensure that customers feel not only confident, but see the market operating as they would normally expect. So as they're walking in, they are seeing full coolers with excellent produce inside. They are seeing that there are sinks available, that washing is available. But ultimately, to go to your original point, we are held to the standards of a grocery store or a restaurant, and that's why the investments we are looking at making are being made, so that we are ensuring that all of our vendors are meeting those standards that customers expect and public health also expect.
Thank you. That was clear and helped paint a picture of what work is being done. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, thank you for everything you've put into this. Would more money help to get this up and running sooner?
Through the mayor, so thank you for the question, Councillor Chapman. Given the amount of remediation that would work, staff are looking at how, depending on which remediation company is doing the work, how fast that work can be conducted. But we do know, like, you can only clean as fast as you can clean in some ways. So it's not something where we can just continue to throw tons of money. Like, there's still going to be a large portion of time that it'll take to clean a facility of that size. But staff will continue to look at expediting as much as possible as we move forward.
So if that were to change, you would come back to us and request more? My other question, and I'm not sure if you're able to share this with us or not, but can you share some of the feedback from the vendors? Like, have we lost any vendors, or, how's that going?
So through the mayor, we haven't lost any vendors. We've made it clear that once our regular market is open again, that everyone is welcome back. It's more a discussion around whether they want to be part of the interim operation or not. But we haven't technically lost a vendor at this point. Given some of the public health considerations we are talking about, like, there are some vendors who are still unable to operate in our interim model, but no one has specifically removed themselves from the Kitchener market.
Okay, and again, thank you.
Yeah, and I think just for clarity there, it's probably important to state that the biggest challenge has been with the upstairs vendors because, as you know, many of them cook food on site, and that requires fire safety and a number of other things. And as a result, that's much more challenging in an interim market. Is that correct, Mr. Sturgis?
Through the mayor, yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Hernandez?
I don't know how did I get cut off?
I don't know, you turned yourself off.
No, I didn't.
I didn't. Okay, anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Anyways, I guess the question that I have is, so the stuff that we're working on to add these additional like components to the outside and creating better capacity, are these going to be done as a temporary measure, or is it being in conjunction as to create our outside space even to make it better? So in one way, it's one good aspect of what happened. We're sort of upgrading the outside portion of the market.
So through the mayor, I would say, so the outside portion, like our covered area of the market, it's still operating as intended. So that's where a lot of our produce vendors operate and are still operating. It would be inside our breezeway and then in our parking level 1 as you come around the corner. These upgrades, though, would be temporary, like the sinks are temporary in nature, the electrical is being established temporary in nature. But there are opportunities to use that equipment in other ways moving forward, right? In different special events that we have in other areas within the city, it will be equipment that will be used elsewhere.
Okay, so when I heard winterizing and
Yes.
What is that exactly? What are we doing there?
Yeah, so through the mayor, so yes, so that's for our covered area. It would be actually thinking of tarps that would actually block off from the wind and the snow and anything coming in and allow some of that heat to be contained in that area while we operate through the colder months.
Okay, so technically, are we looking at an option for that to be, because I think that's a great idea, but I also think it's another way to expand our market further.
Through the mayor, yes, we are considering it.
Okay, great. I have comments when the time's appropriate, Mr. Mayor. Okay. Just to reiterate some of the comments that you made, Mayor Urbanovic, I know as long as I've been here, the market has been something that we've all, looked at as and, spent a lot of dollars and time and management, everything else to get it to where it is today and to be how successful it is today. In fact, it's gotten way better than I ever anticipated. So it was just a great job by our staff and the direction of our teams, everything where the market's gone. I get where the community is, at a loss, but I do take exception. We are not trying to delay anything with this regard. We put a lot of time and money and effort into this facility to get it to where it is today. So it really is an unfortunate incident. And I guess as from my follow-up questions, I think there's a bit of a silver lining there that we, it's making us look at it as, for improvements into the ability to grow further. So unfortunately, I'm happy that we're doing all the work and we're all hands on deck, but it's unfortunate that there's that commentary out there that we're not doing anything and we're just happy to see this thing go. And I take total exception to that because my whole time here, we've spent a lot of time and focus to make sure that that is not the case.
Thank you, Councillor Ioannidis. Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor Brvanovic. I'm happy to see the initial rental rate reduction at 50% of the current user fees and seeking delegated authority to adjust the rate reduction based on foot traffic and potential reopening scenarios. I think that's going to be really helpful. Are we also considering that to help vendors maybe mitigate some of the operating losses they've had because of the fire, so they're kind of back in good financial standing before any rental increases are considered?
Mr. Sturgis.
So through the mayor, thank you for the question. So as I mentioned, no rents have been charged up until this point, and nothing would start until the expanded market on September 5th. It will very much depend on foot traffic, like you said, in terms of how the market is doing and in consultation too with the vendors themselves, right, and what they're experiencing, because there's a lot of different vendors and it will depend on what they're all experiencing as their business operates, but we'll continue to speak with them before any decisions are made in terms of how those rents get changed.
Okay, that's great to hear. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Stretch, I believe you're moving this. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Chapman, thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for this, and thanks for all the fast and immediate work that went into this. The reaction, the planning went right, instantly into action. It's great to see this, as we've heard, and we all know it's a beloved part of living here in Kitchener. It's a meeting place. It's wonderful, and as Councillor Ioannidis alluded to, I think there's a silver lining in this. I think when the market is able to open, I'm sure that with our team here, we're going to be having some great events planned, and I think people are going to be welcoming the market back in a big way and looking forward to supporting our wonderful vendors again. And I do want to thank Councillor Stretch for again, asking that question again, of just clarifying like how difficult it is and how, even though it was would appear to be a small fire, caused major damage. I mean, HVAC has to be replaced. So much has to be done in a institution, a space that is food related. Thanks for the seriousness on this, and I know it's going to come back bigger and better. We'll get over this and get through it.
Councillor Schneider, Councillor Stretch.
Yes, thank you. I just want to add my thanks, especially frontline staff, everyone who's working really hard to support our vendors. And each of our vendors, has different needs, whether it's meat, whether it's eggs, whether it's dairy, whether it's serving food right on the spot. So I thank you for the individual approaches that you've been able to do. And just to echo what the rest of council is saying, thank you for the way that you've listened and been able to work forward. And Cameron, I know that was right in the middle of when you were getting married as well. And so I know you pulled a lot of extra hours. So congratulations and thank you so much for your work.
Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Cameron, I guess we'll throw a honeymoon for you at the market when it opens. Sorry, it's been a long day. Anyways, I want to echo kind of what Councillor Ioannidis said. Lots of commentary out there, lots of negativity towards the city and towards the staff. But at the end of the day, the city gains nothing by having this market fail. The city gains nothing by having vendors move to other communities. And so, it's easy to throw stones on the other side, but until you're the one actually making those decisions and having to deal with the day in and day outs of trying to get this place up to snuff again. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job, so thank you.
Thanks, and I'll just make a few additional comments, and again, thank staff for all of their great work on this. As folks heard, my family's personal story with the market started actually before we moved to Kitchener, and we would come down from Hamilton to buy Farmer's sour cream and cottage cheese so that my mother could make strudels back in Hamilton when we came here. And of course, my big thing was getting to the Norris Bakery Oktoberfest sausage stand that they used to have back in the day when we did the drive down. But I say all that because I think it speaks to the 150 plus years of tradition that have been talked about, and the important role that the market plays for many people, particularly residents, new Canadians in our community, who come from countries and cultures where supermarkets are not the go-to, and you can easily replace one supermarket location with another supermarket location, but rather cultures that really rely on markets, and they're very much the place that they go to. They're a place of culture, a place of connection, a place of belonging, and there's countless stories of that. And we've heard some of those from residents in recent weeks, and why people have been so passionate about this going forward. As Councillor Ioannidis and others have commented on, there is a reality to all this. This was a 20-plus-year-old building, and it was getting tired in a few spots. And so, in all of the challenge that we're going through, we will end up with a better market as a result of this, simply by virtue of the repairs that need to happen. And so, that's certainly an exciting point in all of this as well, and I think needs to be acknowledged and recognized. So with that, it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. We'll now move on to ERP modernization. That sounds like something Councillor Davey would want to move. I was right. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Johnson from our Tech Capital University. Any questions, comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. I don't believe there's anything arising from in-camera. Oh, there is? Okay, Madam Clerk.
Through the chair, there is one motion arising from in-camera earlier today. It's on the screen regarding Expropriations Act.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Stretch, seconded by Councillor Johnson as well. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. There is an in-camera item that the clerk has forgotten to share, and that is that today happens to be somebody's birthday. And that would be our city clerk. So happy birthday, Madam Clerk. Wish you many happy returns. And I'm breaking caucus protocol by speaking publicly about this, I think. And with that, we'll move to bylaws. Madam Clerk.
Through the chair, now that the committee report has been approved, there are two late starter bylaws to add to the agenda, both as amended this evening.
Councillor Davey?
So not on those, sir.
Oh, not on this? Okay. Okay, they have, do I have a mover for the bylaws? Councillor Ioannidis, seconded by Councillor Deneau. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Councillor Davey?
Yeah, sorry, can I comment on the information reports, or would you skip over that?
If I did, I apologize. Please go ahead.
No problem. Yeah, I'll just comment on them both quickly if I could. I just wanted to point out that we are projecting another surplus to City Kitchener, and I'd like to acknowledge the work of staff in that. It's a narrow surplus, but it's a surplus. And I believe this is probably more than a decade of consecutive surpluses, save and except the COVID years. And so I think that should be pointed out. I also wanted to acknowledge again, I typically acknowledge our tenders, and we do have quite a list of tenders there as well, close to 20, and I believe every single one has come in under budget. So I think that's notable as well. Thanks.
So on the variance report, you're trying to to remind everyone that our budgets have successfully come in under the rate of inflation, and we have a surplus each year? Okay, I thought that's what you were saying. So with that, I will take a motion to adjourn, but before I do that, I do want to remind people that Endless Summer will be happening on Labor Day weekend in Victoria Park on the Saturday, and we want to invite the community out for that. So with that, motion to adjourn, Councillor O'Dooney, seconded by Councillor Deneau. All those in favor? Opposed? That's